Hey friends, if you're thinking about homeschooling or you're new to homeschooling or maybe you just need a refresher, this video is for you. I'm going to be talking about the 6 most commonly asked questions for homeschoolers. What are the 6 top things that all of us are wanting to know? Even as a veteran in the homeschool world, because I was homeschooled and I have homeschooled my children for the last however many years, 11 years. My son just finished 11th grade. So even with that experience, I still have to go find answers to certain things. So I'm going to be talking about the biggest ones. What are the laws in your state? And how do you find out where to go for those laws? And all the way down to like what curriculum to choose and how do you know if it's the right one? All of those things. So that's what's coming up in this video. This is a collaboration with David from Calm in the Chaos Homeschool and Shauna from Homegrown Homeschool. This whole playlist is going to have so much advice for you because we're all homeschool moms. Maybe some of us have been doing it for 10 plus years. Maybe some of us have been doing it for a few years. So there's just gonna be a lot of variety and good advice, and I encourage you to watch the whole playlist so you don't miss out on any of it. The very first commonly asked question is legal advice around homeschooling. So a few things to note. It's different in every state. I've homeschooled in 4 states, and it's changed. There might be just slight nuances that are different, but it has been different in every state. And so I've had to check the laws in every state. But good news, it's been pretty easy to Google which state you're in and the homeschool laws surrounding that state and then find a good resource that way. Also, finding a connection of other homeschool moms helped me to get pointed to the right resources. And I haven't had any trouble doing it that way. Some states are more strict, like Pennsylvania is a much more strict state. Texas is a much less strict state. So look it up in your area. That's my advice on that one. The next commonly asked question is what curriculum to use. But here's the thing, I think that's backwards. I don't think you should be looking at your curriculum until you find out your goals for your homeschool and what you want your homeschool day to look like. So there are a couple big homeschool styles, and my first recommendation would be to take this quiz. I will either link it up here or I'll link it in the description. My friend Natalie Burns, who is a teacher turned homeschool mom, she created this quiz for homeschool moms to help you find out your style and how to create a fun homeschool environment for you, for the mom, so that you thrive and then your kids thrive. So I'd say take that quiz, and from that you can determine which of these styles of this bigger category, right? These 4 main styles, which I will list for you, which of those fits into you, the homeschool mama, and what you want and your goals for your homeschool, because that's important. The 4 main approaches that I'm referring to are classical, which I think the answer's in the name, but it's an emphasis on classical and rhetoric teaching and grammar, logic, things like this. Then we've got the Charlotte Mason style. This is a focus on living books, nature studies, being out in nature, taking walks, being outside with your children. This is very popular where I am, and in fact, my closest friend, that's how she teaches her children, is through nature, and I love it. She also got her books from Charlotte Mason, and she's doing a mix, but more on that in a second. But that's a really good way. So if you're one of those moms that just likes to be outside and you'd rather go outside and walk along a trail and identify plants, then maybe that's the right one for you. Then we've got Montessori, which is like hands-on, child-led learning. I loved this when my kids were little. As they got older, and it might just be my kids, I don't know, I don't think Montessori would have worked through high school. I don't know how they would learn advanced math. And again, this could totally just be me, but I don't know how I would have taught things like that with self-directed learning. Now, I could see it with language arts because my daughter's writing a book, and then we can go through it and look at our grammar and look at our sentence structures, but not everything would work that way. So I would say Montessori, I like it, but I wouldn't have done it through high school. And then eclectic homeschooling, which is, I guess, technically what I do. It's combining elements from various of those things, like of those categories. Eclectic means taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this other thing over here. And that is kind of what I do, I guess. I buy it in a package from Sunlight, which I highly recommend. Love Sunlight. It is my favorite, it is my go-to. I can't imagine homeschooling without them this last decade, but Sunlight, you order a box of things and It is living books like Charlotte Mason. It is lots of hands-on learning like Montessori, and it is classical in that we're reading tons of classical books and getting a classical education. So I guess it is a mix of all those things. I'm just gonna sneak in another like bonus one. That's unschooling. Now, unschooling is different. I don't know that it would maybe technically go in the same category, but like it also feels like an outlier because I'm not super familiar with unschooling. The experiences that I had with it have not been very positive. So quite frankly, I was just not interested. And I'm not saying it couldn't work for you. What unschooling is just doing school without any sort of curriculum and learning from your daily life. And I think that's lovely. That sounds beautiful. I love the idea, but I know it wouldn't have worked for me because I am a busy mom. I work full time. The idea of trying to make sure that my kids get everything that they need and not actually having any sort of like direction wouldn't have worked for me. Like I just feel like my kids would have suffered if I had done that. So I haven't done any sort of unschooling because I just knew that wasn't the right fit for my family. So that's on there as well. Okay, once you've taken the test, figured out how to rock it as a homeschool mom, and then you picked out what style of homeschooling you want to do, then you can go back and pick out the curriculum you want to use. And picking out curriculum is arguably the best thing about homeschooling. You get to geek out over all these books and all of these different ways of learning and see what works for your children. And if you have lots of children, then that can be really fun because you can just, you know, this for this person and this for this person and that for that person. So fun, but it is also a big endeavor. Like I said, I have used Sunlight from the beginning, so I don't have a ton of reviews or feedback on the different types of curriculum. But once you know what style you want to pursue, look up curriculum like Charlotte Mason curriculum, and you can look up Sunlight. I love Sunlight, obviously. I've been using it for a long time. So you could look up what's in the Sunlight curriculum. You could look up Montessori curriculum. And they might not have an exact, oh, this is Montessori curriculum, but you get the idea. You're looking up what is most close to that and how you could use that and implement that in your homeschool. And then eclectic, if you're trying to be fully eclectic and you're just piecing it together, which I applaud you because like, I want to like crawl under my bed if I think about trying to piece together all the curriculum from all over the planet, it feels. But if you want to do it that way, that's also amazing. You can really cater it to your child, which I think is a blessing and a gift. So more power to you. That's an option as well. Once you've done that, so you figured out the laws, you have figured out what kind of homeschool mom you are, you have chosen the curriculum you want to use, then you can pick out the schedule. And again, everybody's different. I love it when moms are like, oh, we do this and this and this and this and all the things. I don't really work like that. I need it to be more structured for my sanity. And so we homeschool in the morning and I work in the evenings. I work a swing shift from 2 to 10. So we get our homeschool done usually by 1 o'clock every day, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but that's when we do it, right? So we have all morning to homeschool. And that's also when my kids have their classes, their lessons that we do outside the home, their music lessons, anything like that. My oldest son has drop-off classes, so I'm dropping him off and picking him up later in the day, or my husband will pick him up if I'm working. If you don't have a curriculum that comes with a schedule, lots of them do. So if you have one, great. If you don't though, I highly recommend Teaching from Rest by Sarah Mackenzie. Love this book. It was a game changer. It helped me to teach from rest because I tend to be like, let's get it done, guys. I don't want to sit here all day. I have other things I'd like to do besides 4th grade math. But Teaching from Rest really helped me to enjoy the process, focus on the things that matter. If you're going through a really busy season, gold, because she's so encouraging about like how to navigate those harder seasons. I didn't have to homeschool older children when I had little kids because I had my kids close together. However, I had other things. I was moving across the country multiple times. I was taking care of my mother. I was doing things like this. And so I had to adjust myself along the way multiple times, and Teaching from Rest really helped me to do that. Another commonly asked questions for new homeschool moms is, how do I make sure that my kids are properly socialized? When my kids were little, they were very social. We were going to parks, play dates, Bible studies, things like this all the time. And then when they got a little bit older, we were going to the beach constantly with friends, with other homeschool parents, especially in the summertime, whenever, whatever. But I will say that this socialization concern became less funny when my kids got older, and they actually did need me to make a significant effort to ensure that they got to have a social life. And that's when I became a taxi driver. And it wasn't because I just love being in the car for 5 hours a day. It's because I felt like this is what my kids need. And I'm not saying every kid is like this either. This is my kids and my experience. So we would drive to the classes. For the last 4 years, we have had classes 2 to 4 times a week where I'm driving them. They're with other homeschoolers, they're with maybe the youth group, different activities. I got advice when I was a younger homeschool mom to really make sure that my friends had friends that we were visiting with, going to spending time with outside of the homeschool co-op that we were a part of. And that was really good for us. I'm so glad that we did that. Again, sometimes it's really hard to make that effort, but if you can, I recommend it because I do think that it's really good for the kids, not because they're not going to be sociable enough or they're not going to know how to talk to adults. These are things that are public school issues too. They're not specific to homeschool, but more for that. I think that having friendships is so good for your soul. Having good people in your life is a necessity, I feel. And so to me, that's what it's about. It's about nurturing healthy relationships and friendships that can be with you for the rest of your life. That's why I encourage parents to help their children have a social life. I feel like the term social life sounds bad, but the way that I'm referring to it, I feel is very good and very healthy, and actually literally in the Bible lots of times where there was groups of believers getting together, laughing, enjoying each other, talking to each other, just bonding over the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with life. That's my little spiel on socialization. And lastly, time management. Like I said, I work full time. Time management is important, and I think I might have some videos on it on my channel. I'm not even sure now. I hope some of the other ladies give good advice on time management. Mine is just very structured. It's simple. I literally homeschool all morning, work all evening. That's what I do. During homeschool, if I'm feeling extra energetic, I will also throw in a crock pot dinner, and if not, my husband makes dinner. I have done it other ways in the past, but right now I've been doing this for the last 6 months and it is working. So yes, come the weekend, your girl is tired. I could use a nap. We just finished up our school for the year and we're gonna just take the summer off. Mostly, I think we're gonna keep doing math because if you don't use it, you lose it. I feel like I skimmed over the time management, but that feels like it deserves its own whole video. But like I said, maybe other people have some advice on that. You can definitely check it out in the playlist. I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Happy to help fellow homeschool parents. I love homeschooling. It's been such a blessing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so I'm here to help other homeschool moms as well. Have a great rest of your day.